our freshman year, everyone in the Act 6 program knew when our cadre was around, because when we would get together, we would be loud and obnoxious, and some would call us even a little childish, or oh, look at the freshmen. But the truth was, we just really enjoyed each other's company, and we just realized that living life as a college student freshman year was very stressful. But when we'd come together, we had each other's back, and we would just always want to have a good time and just let loose. Freshman year, we all sat together and wrote down a mission statement for our cadre, and I will read that to you now. So, fall of 2017. We will continue to motivate and bring out the best in one another. Through support, empathy, and courage, with the right mentality, we can ignite change in our community. Our legacy will impact future generations for a better tomorrow. Now Damien will share our senior year mission statement so you can see how that's changed.
So our current mission, as we understand it, has transformed in a number of ways. When we started out, we were shy, we were still trying to understand the ropes of how to navigate through college, we were trying to understand what our place was in life and what we wanted to gain from it. So that being said, now moving on to where we are now as college seniors, I think that we've transformed in a number of ways. First and foremost, I think that we've really come to grow into our own bodies and our leadership capacities in our own unique ways. Some of us are more outgoing, some of us are more introverted, some of us know how to fill a room, some of us know how to understand the small details of things. And we've really managed to hone our crafts in that same way, such that we each have our own specific strengths and weaknesses that are both amplified and filled in by the others around us, such that we are a coherent unit that is able to transform a lot when we put our heads together. That's changed a lot from how we were when we started out, all being very unsure of what we were and where we were going. Now we know how to interact with each other, we know how to interact with our campus community, and we know how to navigate the space such that we can be positive influences to those who come after us, and that's the biggest hope that we have.
Just in our freshman year alone, we volunteered together for many projects as a whole cadre, but each individual cadre member also got involved in various different projects. This includes tutoring fellow Whitworth students, mentoring younger students at local high schools and middle schools, serving on various councils for Whitworth and community events, and some of us even held positions in our student government as freshmen. Whenever we got together, we would just remind each other of all the hard work that it took to get here, all the phases of elimination that we got through together, the good times from our expedition trips in the middle of the woods, and we would just take the time to really be there for one another. As active leaders getting involved in various different activities freshman year, it also got very overwhelming sometimes, but whenever we got together as a cadre, we would just remind each other of how far we've come and how far we still have to go.
My best self and how I've come to recognize it, I think has happened over the course of my 4 years in college. I came into college as somebody who was a part of leadership, ASB president, always trying to do more, always trying to do things. And so I came into college with that same mindset. I'm going to do everything. And over the 4 years, I realized that doing everything gets you burnt out, and it leaves you with the feeling of, well, I did everything, but did I do too much to where I overstretched myself? My freshman year, I completely thought that I could do everything, be a part of every single club, hang out with all my friends, be a part of the soccer team, but then I began to unbalance those things. My academics really suffered. Sophomore year and junior year, I spent a lot of time digging into my faith and seeing what does God have in store for me, what is His plan for me, and I think that I strayed away from it. And now going into my senior year and taking on this, what seems like this huge world, how do I recognize who that person is, or who I want to be going into that world? I think I've recognized it by being a teacher or wanting to be a teacher and pursuing that major in education and history. Ultimately, I found that to be a leader, you don't have to be at the front of the classroom, you don't have to be at the front of anything or the person that everybody follows. Over the course of the last 2 semesters here at Whitworth, I've been able to work with students individually, being able to just be their learning partner and build a learning alliance with them so that we can tackle school together. Because I think that in our education system today, teachers are so overstretched and outworked that they can't truly pour into their students, and that's not their fault. Ultimately, I think being a teacher is going to be a really hard job for me because I have a big heart and I take things really personally. Everything weighs on me. I'm always thinking about what others want, what they need, and how I can be there for them and help them out. The thing that I've come to realize over these 4 years is that every single person is on their own journey. And it's not my job or anybody else's job to create that journey for somebody else. You know, they go through the struggles that they go through every single day. And it's my job just to help them and support them through that. Not to take over everything, every aspect of their life, but just to be somebody who's a helping hand, or even somebody who doesn't necessarily sympathize, but empathizes and gets into their shoes or gets into their minds, and ultimately learning from a place that values education of the mind and heart. I think that to ultimately be the best teacher, I have to start with the heart. I think that's going to be really hard because it hurts sometimes when you see people give up, or you see people who lose motivation. Mentoring students this year and recognizing and seeing that they're just alone, that they don't have teachers who support them, that they don't have their parents to support them. That's what draws me to be a teacher, is to be that support, to be that leader that's not telling everybody to come follow me, but to be that leader that's going to go to the individual student, to that individual person and say, I see you, I see this journey that you're on, I see this path, and I'm not here to help you take over the world or whatever, but I'm here to support you, and I'm here to pull you through this, and I'm here to make sure that you feel validated and affirmed, so that when you get to the position that I'm in and you are going into this big old world, you know that you have support, you have love. The Act 6 community and those people have supported and loved me, and even though I don't see them every single day, and I won't see them every single day when I graduate, I know that what they have instilled in me, that love, I'm going to give to every single student I can give to, and that's my best self.
I would describe my best self as being a resilient, fearless leader who embodies the best qualities of the people I surround myself with. And I knew that resilient was a good word to describe my best self after my sophomore year of college, my first semester of my sophomore year of college, when I was taking organic chemistry and physics. And during that time, during my first exams, I pretty much bombed both of the exams, to be honest. And I was not focused at all. I was panicking because I was like, how am I going to dig myself out of this hole? And many college students know the term that I'm about to use right now, but I was going through a mental breakdown, as you would describe it. And then I had a meeting with Sean to discuss my academic progress, and rightfully so, he recommended that maybe I drop one of my classes because my course schedule was too hard, and that it would help me do better in the other classes that I'm in and overall help my performance. And that was a reasonable suggestion, but dropping a class was never something that I even considered, because I like to pride myself on being someone who never quits. And like, I'm that person that'll be playing a game of NBA 2K20 and be losing by 30, and my friend will be like, hey, you just want to quit, the game's over, you don't need to, you're not coming back. And I'll be like, nah man, I'm coming back, I ain't quitting no matter what. So fast forward, end of the semester, I end up getting a B in both chem and physics. which is something I was really proud of because I worked my butt off to get to that point, especially after being at a non-passing grade at midterm. And then, most importantly, I proved to myself that I can do anything as long as I don't quit, as long as I stay resilient and keep pushing through, no matter if it's getting difficult, whether the slope that I have to climb is too high. I believe that I could do anything, and if I have that mentality moving forward, I believe I'll reach and be my best self. Next, I would describe my best self as being a fearless leader, because before coming to Whitworth, I felt like fear was something that was and still is something that's keeping me from reaching my full potential. And I remember in high school, I wouldn't pursue leadership roles or take classes where I knew there was a lot of public speaking involved, because that was something that made me feel like I was in an uncomfortable situation, and I would avoid those uncomfortable situations. But after getting Act 6, and they challenged me to be a leader on campus, and that caused me to pursue leadership roles such as being the BSU president, a student panelist, Bucksbridge peer guide. And through these roles, I really got to grow as a person and learn how to overcome my fears of being in uncomfortable situations. And a wise man once said, growth can only occur when you're outside of your comfort zone. So when I say I want to be a fearless leader, what I really mean is I want to be someone who's willing to get out of my comfort zone in order to foster personal growth. Lastly, I would describe my best self as someone who embodies the best qualities of the people I surround myself with. And I chose this as a good description because there's a common belief that the people who you are around is a reflection of who you are. And I believe that to be true. So take my cadre, for example. I believe that I want to reflect the kindness and compassion of the girls in my cadre. I want to reflect the confidence of Devontae and Rebenson. I want to speak eloquently like Damien. And of course, I want to have the sense of humor of Jose. I believe that if I'm able to embody all these qualities, I'll be the best version of myself as well. And while I don't believe that I am currently my best self or I have ever been my best self, I believe my best self is someone I want to be in the future. And that's what I hope to look forward to.
Since I can remember, I've always been raised to believe in God. But it wasn't some time between my transition from high school to college that I really found my faith. My parents never forced my siblings and I to follow in their footsteps in terms of what they believed, but they always encouraged us to search God for ourselves and find our own faith. And it was through this encouragement that I found my faith in Christ. Now, one central pillar of Act 6 that I really admire is the service pillar of it. Now, I started volunteering and servicing others throughout high school and continued as I started my Whitworth career. Whether it be through community building day, through Hola Club events, or interning in Costa Rica, I've been blessed with the opportunities to give back. This is when I realized the importance of serving. The Gospel of Mark was very influential for me because it is often summarized in one verse, which goes, "For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life a ransom for many." See, Mark portrays Christ's life as one of service and sacrifice. By preaching, healing, and teaching, Christ tends to the needs of others, and he commissions his followers to follow in his footsteps as well. After I graduate, I want to follow in the footsteps of that perfect servant. And I think I can do this through my career in physical therapy. Now, part of my reason for choosing my career as physical therapy is because of my passion for serving others. In my future, I want to serve others in a compassionate and empathetic way, just as Christ did. And although the extent of how I serve my community might not be life-changing, but what's more important to me is that I make a small positive impact in at least one person's life. And I think that selfless service that we see is one way that we can honor God by loving one another. I began to realize this as I studied abroad. Now last spring, I studied abroad in Costa Rica, and I lived in a community of Nicaraguan immigrants and refugees. Now in the same community, I was also interning at a clinic as a nursing assistant. Now as I was starting to live and work in La Carpio, I was starting to see the struggles of a community that was being marginalized in a foreign country. Now every day that I was in La Carpio, I never dreaded it. In fact, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed walking in the clinic every day and working because I felt that my internship gave me a sense of purpose, like I was helping in the lives of other people. And I always appreciate the connections that I made during my time there. That's when I realized that my true vocation was in helping others. One thing that Jesus has taught me is that the health of the community is just as important as the health of the individual. As a future healthcare provider, I want to use my abilities to help heal my community. And now, my service is not just limited to my career, but there are many opportunities out there that help eliminate the inequalities that we see today. I pray that God will place me where I'm needed the most. And I have confidence that Act 6 and Whitworth have prepared me for the challenges that come ahead in doing so. I also have faith that God will guide me as I prepare to graduate from Whitworth. Now, I'm no theologian, but I believe that through serving my community, I can continue to honor God, follow Christ, and serve humanity.
I used to be a very social butterfly. In high school, before I came to Whitworth, I would go out of my way to make sure I knew every single person at the school and made sure that everyone knew me. I always volunteered for things. I got involved in every club, every AP class possible. I was just spreading myself out into everything, and I absolutely loved it. But my senior year, when I started earning scholarships, that all started kind of falling apart. Specifically, when I got the Act 6 scholarship, I was the first person from my high school to earn this scholarship, and there was a miscommunication, misinterpretation that I was only getting this scholarship because I was an immigrant and one of the few immigrants at my school. So people started having distrust in me, they started calling me an illegal immigrant, they said I shouldn't be on student government anymore, and all of this just led to me feeling not very motivated to continue being socially active. So I actually ended my high school career with no friends. I had no motivation to keep being social and staying involved. And the only friends I ended up with after graduating was my Act 6 cadre. So these other 7 people that I didn't even know very well, but I developed such a close bond with them just over a few months, and I really cherished that relationship. So over my time at Whitworth, it's been a lot of growth for me socially. Freshman year, I would just stay busy. I was scared to put myself out there again and risk losing all of my friends and my reputation. So it took me a long time to build that confidence again. But especially in my senior year this year, I feel like I've been able to become more socially active. I ended up serving as the president of Ola Club here, getting involved in other clubs, tutoring people again, and serving as a TA. And I feel like I've finally become myself again. So I'd definitely say the most growth I've felt is just becoming myself again and learning how to be my own best friend.
One milestone that really changed my worldview, it wasn't a specific moment, but it was a group of people. We're the upperclassmen. I feel like when I first came to Whitworth, although I had my cadre, it took us a long time to realize that we even had each other. It wasn't until the upperclassmen told me that I needed to stop waiting for a home, for a family to fall into my lap. Because families don't just fall into your lap. You start creating them, you create the spaces that you're around. And I learned that if I wanted to be miserable here, that was my decision. I chose to be miserable here. But I could sit here and make this community a home, make it loving, make it caring, and that's exactly what they taught me to do. Another experience that really changed my life was going to Hayward, California. So there I worked at a food pantry and a warming center and just doing a whole bunch of other stuff like case management for immigrants. And there I realized that for a really long time, my outlook on God just didn't really match up with what I wanted to do with my life. I felt like God couldn't fit into my love for justice. I felt like God and my love for loving people were two separate things. And it wasn't until I got here and I stepped into my spirituality that I realized that God does fight for justice. And it isn't about me to God, but it's about me to God in the we, right? It's about the community. It's about how we help each other, how we thrive, while still loving God, while there's us working towards being righteous, being merciful, being all the things that we were called to be. So it wasn't that God couldn't fit with the justice. It's that I was forcing justice to be other things that wasn't just righteousness, that wasn't in the image of God. And that took a really long time to realize. But I got there. When I was a junior, I had the privilege of traveling abroad, and there we went to Costa Rica and Guatemala. And it wasn't until traveling abroad that I realized that I have privilege. Like, I really do. Privilege comes in many different forms. And at times, we're so caught up in the ways that we're oppressed that we forget that we are above others sometimes in our own privilege. Like, I have American citizenship, and that means a lot. And sometimes we even deny that it means a lot. And it wasn't until going up to other countries that I was like, wow, like, I hold power in this passport. And in this passport, I have hurt others. And in my sheer existence, I have hurt others the same way that others have hurt me. And it's understanding the duality of your own identity, that you cause pain the same way that you receive pain. And it isn't until you understand that you can truly start healing and understanding and cleansing the wounds that you have caused within yourself and in others in the same way that others have cleansed the wounds that they created in you. And that's about the community. You have to heal together. And if there is no healing together, then there is no prospering together.
I think we all hope to be leaving some type of legacy here in Whitworth. I think we've all tried really hard to leave just a little bit of ourselves here on campus. I know many of us were involved either in clubs or sports or student government, and even our littles. I think having our littles here on campus is a very big accomplishment. Personally for me, I can say that my entire family is here on campus and on progress to graduate, and that makes me very proud to say that, because when I started, littles were just starting and it was not very common to have a full family. So just being able to say that I have a full family really touches my heart. And I think personally another big aspect of my college life was OLA, and I hope to be able to leave that as a legacy. OLA is the Latino club here on campus, and many of the cadre members have also been involved in it, so it's kind of been more of a group effort. This year I am the president, and I'm very proud to be able to say that. When I first heard of OLA, I think is when I came senior year, when I had won Act 6, and when I had asked if there was a Latino club on campus, they had told me that there was, but it was very small and it had just barely started that year. And before coming to Whitworth, they had asked us if there was a goal that we wanted to achieve while being at Whitworth, and I think one of my goals was either to start a Latino club or to help improve the one that was here. And I feel confident to be able to say that I feel like I was able to do that. Freshman year, I was kind of an unofficial officer. I was very involved in the club. I came to every meeting, every event, try to help as most as I can. And then sophomore year, I was the secretary, and I was also able to help grow the tradition of performing in international festival. Typically, it was usually done by one or two people that performed. This was done by Karen Rodriguez. She started this whole performing during the international festival, and she would bring her own dresses, and either her or someone else would perform it. And sophomore year, I was able to get more dresses and involve more people in the process, and I think it was one of the biggest performances that year. And just being able to say that I helped grow that tradition also makes me feel really proud in not only my culture but the club here on campus. And then junior year, I was vice president, and again this year I am president. And I think it's very important to just keep the tradition of having the Latino club here on campus, as it's kind of hard to feel at home in a place that can feel so different. And Ola has just always brought me so much comfort. I have met many of my closest friends through Ola, and I hope that it's brought many other people comfort as well. I have watched it grow into the club that it is. I've invested my own money, my time, my tears and sweat into it. I know many other people have as well. And it makes me very happy to see people excited on campus to see the events that we put on, and I hope that it continues to grow as that diversity grows here on campus, and that people are able to achieve things with Ola that I was never able to achieve with the club. And it's hard for me to pass the torch just because I've been involved in it for so long, but I know that I leave it in good hands.
My current leadership philosophy is that everyone should love others like they love themselves or their family members. I believe kindness is the greatest attribute any leader could have, and as well as being very optimistic, and that they believe and see the best in others and encourage others to fulfill their fullest potential. A leader must also have a lot of influence over and around their community or the people that they are leading, and that they have the ability to encourage, motivate, and influence and guide others to think or act in a specific way to achieve certain goals that have been set. Honesty is a huge part in being a leader. Because with honesty, you will be able to essentially share the positive and the negative aspects of things that are happening. Even though sometimes honesty doesn't work for others and you may piss them off, but at the end of the day, I think honesty and being a parent is very important in building a relationship and a good foundation for any leader team to achieve a certain goal. A leader must also have passion and they need the motivation and the drive to never give up towards any goal, dream, project that they are doing, because with that passion comes just the desire to achieve what you set out to do, the desire to make change in the community, the world, or just in the home. And a leader must be compassionate. Is that you work and learn to understand others, to be able to feel what they are feeling, as well as allowing them to be themselves while motivating them to become greater than they could ever have been.
I would explain my current leadership philosophy in two major parts. The first one sort of comes as the product of a question that was asked to me my freshman year, which is, what is a leader? At the time, I didn't really know exactly what to say, so I just gave a very long, complicated, wordy answer that didn't really mean much. But then next to me was a student who, I had heard of and I had seen his work, and I wasn't personally that influenced by it. But then when he answered this question, it really, really stuck with me. He very calmly and very coolly said, to be a leader is to be an example. And that stuck with me ever since. And I've tried to live that ever since. I do believe that in order to be a good leader, you have to be competent enough to know what you're doing such that people want you to be the leader. Anything other than that is you trying to be a boss, and people don't like that. Being a leader therefore means knowing what you're doing, being able to take a complex problem and break it down for others and take the input of others. And all that comes down to an understanding that leadership can only be part of a collective group. One can't be a leader if one is just by oneself. Leadership necessarily involves a community that one has trust in and that the community has trust in you with. Which leads me to my second point of leadership. My current leadership philosophy also revolves around the idea of bettering oneself, exponential growth. One of the ideas that very regularly comes to my head is everything is exponential. You have to start somewhere. People are very good at what they do nowadays, and if one enters some sort of field without much experience in it, it can be very easy to be overwhelmed by how good somebody else can be. So it's really not about being better than someone else is today. It's about being better than you were yesterday. It's about building from the start, starting little, taking small bites, and increasing based on your philosophy of how you view yourself and in comparison to yourself. So that in conjunction with the first one of leadership as an example, but then also understanding that you don't have to be there yet, that you can take small bites and steady steps and still get to where you want to be, ultimately combines to be my current leadership philosophy. And the way that this is played out in my life is that it doesn't overwhelm me as much when I take on a new skill or a new project that I want to do. If I'm worried that I'm not good enough for it yet, or that I don't know where I'm going to go with it, I know that I can look to somebody else for their leadership in their example if they know what they're doing better than I do, and that I can take small steps and I can take small bites and eventually reach the point where I myself can be a leader.
While at Whitworth, I utilized my time and talents to transform the campus community by serving as a Bucksbridge peer guide, ESU president, student panelist for Whitworth, and mentor for troubled youth at Whitworth School. Through each of these experiences, I learned the importance of developing strong, lasting relationships, and that those relationships will go beyond just my time at Whitworth.
During my time at Whitworth, my freshman year, I started my own club called Apis Bee Club. I brought honeybees to campus to help pollinate all the flowers and crops that we have in our student garden. I also served as the zone representative for my residence hall, and I was a Spanish Live Lab leader and tutored over 20 students in Spanish. Later on, I served as the vice president and president of Hola Club, Heritage of Latino Americans here at Whitworth. And I also represented Argentina's flag at the International Festival for the first time in Whitworth's history. And currently, during my senior year, I'm the TA for 3 accounting classes and the Becker Campus Ambassador.
So I utilized my time and talents at Whitworth by being a part of a lot of different things. I was a part of the Act 6 scholarship program, where we just learned a lot about leadership and how we can impact our community on campus. I was also a part of the Whitworth men's soccer team, where I learned and was challenged in competition and built a brotherhood with people that I love and care about. I was also a part of Whitworth on-campus ministry as well during my freshman and sophomore year. Now in my senior year, I do a lot of mentoring with young students in the community. I want to be a part of more opportunities for children to get the chance to learn. I want children to feel like they have people in their community that are willing to help them in their schooling, because it's really hard to learn when you don't have people there for you.
When I came to Whitworth, I didn't feel grounded myself. I felt grounded in my home. I felt grounded knowing my streets. I felt grounded knowing the people I always grew up with. But then all that was taken away. So I used my time at Whitworth to grow myself, to understand the talents I did have, which is just being with people. I love people. I love being around people. I love everything that people bring. And I realized that I just love being in family. So I used my time here to grow the tools. Because sometimes in order to help your community grow, in order to help the family you love grow, you have to leave it and then go back.
At my time at Whitworth, I utilized my skills and abilities by just getting to know other people and creating those hopefully lifelong friendships and relationships, and having connection through an amazing university. Also, I've worked on campus with multiple jobs, whether being the RA or the student ambassadors, or working as a grounds person, taking care of the campus, making it look beautiful, and seeing and understanding the hard work that goes into making Whitworth what it is.
While being at Whitworth, I have used my time and talent to transform either the campus or my community by bringing forward my point of views, whether that be my Latinx point of view or my activist point of view. I think it's very important for people of color to voice their opinions, specifically being in a white dominant institution, so that it can create change for future students to come.
So during my time at Whitworth, I've been very proud and happy to have participated in a number of experiences that have both grown my leadership experience within myself and contributed to the campus community in ways that I'm very proud to have been engaged in. One of them was engaging with the Student Ambassador program, which started my junior year and that I was a founding member of, and helped me engage with the community outside of Whitworth as well as be a representative for the community within Whitworth. Another such example was joining the debate team my freshman year, which allowed me to see the country, meet great people, and really engage with a number of fantastic faculty, alumni, and students that have really transformed my worldview.
While at Whitworth, I utilized my time and talents to transform the campus community by serving as Azul Senator for Warren, by serving as OLA Club President and Treasurer, as well as serving as Bucksbridge Peer Guide, and doing some things here at the ISC. Now, with COVID and all the challenges that it's brought this year, it's been tough to be involved in campus, but now is a more important time than ever to stay connected with the people that we care about, and I'm grateful for Act 6.